Man, so the Big Baby and Friends podcast keeps getting pushed like further and further back or pushed up, let's say, at the beginning of the week. Last week it was Wednesday. This week it's Tuesday. But it's going to be a good time, man. I have Parlay Pete per usual here. What's up, Parlay Pete?
Howdy do people.
Then we have a guest, a special guest, someone that we talk about almost every week. Mr. First Take himself, Julian Turner. How's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty well. You guys call me Jew tonight.
Okay, we're gonna call you Jew. So let's open it up here, man. And we've been waiting for the right time to bring Jew on because Jew is a resident Steelers fan. Okay, he's a supporter of all things Mike T, even though he was talking about firing him 2 years ago. He's a supporter of everything Big Ben. He has Antonio Brown jerseys. Le'Veon Bell he has a Le'Veon poster on his wall. But today we're going to talk about the end of the Killer Bees. You know, one of the best dynasties to never win shit, the Killer Bees. You know, I don't even know how they got a name because, I mean, were they really Killer Bees or were they Bumblebees? You know, big, make a lot of noise, but didn't have a stinger. Because the first round exits, you know, Jaguars, you know, they never want to see Belichick, but they're better than most, you know. They were better than most, but the Killer Bees, I think their time has come to an end. Big Ben has played his last home game, and he went out in shining fashion, you know, over 40 passes and less than 200 yards, the Big Ben on the back end way. Antonio Brown refused to go into a game and jumping jacks off the field and then a spot in an Uber, and then the next night he's sitting courtside at the Brooklyn Nets game. You know, somebody who just doesn't get the temperature in the room. And the last man standing, Le'Veon Bell. This man was ready to be a boxer and fight one of the Paul brothers, and then old Tommy Brady called him up and said, "Hey, man, we need a running back." And I don't even think he's taken a snap yet. But this was a great era for the Steelers, and I'm not going to lie. I don't think it should go down in Steelers lore because the Steelers are a championship franchise. And although these were three marquee individuals, Big Ben was a top 5 to 7 quarterback consistently throughout in the NFL. AB was arguably the best receiver in the NFL, and Le'Veon Bell for a couple years was arguably the best running back in the NFL, man. And it's sad to see such a great era go down in flames, but as most of their playoff appearances did, it went down in flames. So it's fitting the way their careers are ending. Jew, how do you feel about the end of the Killer Bees era?
Well, I like your choice of words there. One, I would say it was never an end of an era because I would honestly say, as a fan, to say that to make it an era, you had to have some type of success. What we had was a moment of talent that was apparent, but what we saw was that in the times that mattered most, they couldn't get it done. So how do I feel about it? I feel like the greatest team that never was. You had AB, who is arguably top 5 receiver of all time, of all time. And his stats say so. That's a different day. We also, and at the time in the league when he came in, he was consistently top 3, and it was between him, Julio Jones, and maybe Hopkins or Michael Thomas or Megatron or AJ Green. But it was always AB and Julio, and then whoever you want to put in there, and then you can argue about 1 or 2 for AB and Julio. And then you had Le'Veon Bell, you know, who at the time, you know, was at the height of his career, and he was one of the most dynamic two-way backs there was. He was patient with his running. He picked his holes, and then he could also catch the ball. He was a legit receiver. You had a kicker in Boswell who was – and at this point, you know what? He needs to honestly start being talked about in the same fashion as a Tucker or a Vinatieri, if you truly ask me, because – I think Boswell has had 56 straight made field goals. I mean, the guy is, for the most part of his career, has always been automatic. Now I know Tucker is, you know, known for his more clutch moments, and especially him setting the record this year for the longest field goal. But as far as the consistency, Boswell, if you had Boswell on your fantasy team at one point, he was giving you almost 15 to 25 a game. I mean, he was always making it. And then you had Ben. I would argue, I wouldn't say Ben is a top 10 quarterback of all time. I would say maybe top 15. Stats, his stats where he's ending at on his stats as far as on all-time passing list, all-time touchdowns, things like that. I mean, and being a part of an era. Again, I had this argument earlier with Parlay Pete here. I don't know if you have a greater era of a quarterback than Big Ben had with Pittsburgh. I mean, he never had a losing season. 3 Super Bowl appearances with no losing seasons under Mike Tomlin. Let me be more specific. Under Mike Tomlin, he had 3 Super Bowl appearances, and he actually won 2 of them. I mean, so that alone, he's already an elite company by himself, not for just making it to multiple Super Bowls, but actually winning those Super Bowls, something that some quarterbacks for some franchises can never say they've done.
That's true. And I'm just going to stop you there, Jude, because I think we've heard enough of you sucking the Steelers off for a minute. I would agree with the majority of what you just said. I think it's been, I would call that era a successful era for the Steelers. It was the one point probably in Steelers history where people looked at the offense more than they looked at you guys' defense. And so because you guys,
I would disagree, but continue.
Well, I would say that during that era, that probably 2013 to about 2017. So, half of the last decade, essentially, the Steelers were known more for their offense than they were their defense when they had the killer bees. And you did. I tell you what, even if he wasn't the best receiver in the NFL, because I still think Julio was better, but he had the best receiver in the AFC. He had the best running back in the AFC. And Ben was never the best quarterback, but, by default, he's going against Brady. So, that was going to be hard. But I would say that obviously Brady had a much more successful run in New England than Ben did in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's apparent by the rings. He's got 5. He got 6 in New England and went to 8. They won the division every year except the year he tore his ACL in the first season, and then his second season as a starter with the Patriots. So, they pretty much – and then even those years, the Patriots had winning records too. This was Bill Belichick. Last year was Bill Belichick's first year of not having a winning season since 2000. So the Patriots definitely were a far more superior team. And for what it's worth, we could argue that the Patriots had the greatest. This is the greatest NFL dynasty ever. So that's for them to have still gotten 2 within that time frame, it's pretty fucking good. Because there's still great teams on the side, in the NFC. And then. Who else did you guys have in the AFC during this era?
We always had the Ravens. The Ravens are always
right, and Baltimore's got 2 during that.
We had the Ravens era. We had the Peyton Manning era that we had to go through as well too. Peyton Manning with the Colts.
So I would say that the AFC definitely dominated the NFL for pretty much the whole stretch of Big Ben's career, and for him to have gone to 3 and gotten 2, it is impressive. It is impressive, and then he did it with 2 different head coaches. So. And he came in a winner. I remember Ben's first year in Pittsburgh. You guys went 15-1. I know y'all lost. I think y'all lost that first playoff game, but with the rookie quarterback, that's expected. And it was. I'm pretty sure it was probably against Brady and New England. So that probably had a lot to do with it. But I would just look upon this Killer Bees era and say. Kind of to piggyback really off of what you just said, what it wasn't as opposed to what it was, because
the greatest team that never was.
Yeah, and they never did what they were supposed to do, and I think that at least one, even if they didn't win it, one Super Bowl appearance should have happened. Ben was throwing for
at least once.
Ben was throwing for 4,500 yards. You guys had a plethora of receivers. I look back at it, Mike Wallace before he signed the big deal with the Dolphins. You had Emmanuel Sanders. You know, who's you guys' tight end? It wasn't Heath Miller. Or was it Heath Miller?
You had Heath Miller.
Yeah,
we've
Heath
had,
Miller.
we've had,
solid, reliable white tight end target. Big.
I mean,
tight end. Like,
but if we want to go back to Ben's, first couple of years, he's had people like Hines Ward.
Yeah, Hines Ward. He's always had. You know what? That is one thing that nobody likes to talk about. But Big Ben's also had, kind of like Matt Ryan, he's always had a really good receiving core. If you really
so, can I stop you here? Can we refrain from putting Matt Ryan and Big Ben in the same sentence? I mean, and if you do want to sneak it in, can there just be a pause? Can there be a period? Then we introduce Matt Ryan, because I think all of the viewers, have watched the show, if they've seen you and how you, gawk and gaze over Matt Ryan. But we're actually talking about a first ballot Hall of Famer. Matt Ryan is going to get in the Hall of Fame. He's not going to be first ballot. He's not.
I'm glad that you admit that Matt Ryan's a Hall of Famer.
He's going to get because for what he did for your franchise,
Falcons franchise history,
that's I would say he may have been the greatest player, but you guys have had players who meant more, and Deion Sanders has meant more. Michael Vick has meant more. There will never be a
from a fan base standpoint. You're absolutely correct in terms of what the fans feel, sure, but statistically and what was been accomplished, he's accomplished more than anyone.
But what has he? But if we talk about accomplishment, what has he accomplished? What name Matt Ryan's accomplishments that actually mean something? Well, and we're gonna start with a Super Bowl. So we don't have those.
Here.
So,
Look, I don't want to get into the Falcons too much.
Okay, all right.
We're talking about I can name off plenty of accomplishments. I mean,
I'm sure they're going to sound up. They're going to sound like a lot of participation awards. A lot of second up.
The Falcons never had back-to-back winning seasons until he got there. And I want you to think about this. It's a franchise that started in 1966. Until 2008, 2009, they had never had back-to-back winning seasons, and it happens with a rookie quarterback.
And we're having an historian moment right now. For all you boys and girls, gather around. Uncle Pi wants to tell you a story about when segregation was still going on, and about how a little old franchise in a small town called Atlanta, Georgia, birthed the team that's never won anything, it hasn't mounted anything, but then came a great white hope in the name of Matt Ryan, and he led you guys to nothing. And you guys have won nothing, but the way he's going to present it, it's going to make it seem like you guys are something. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that the fans knew what we had to listen to for the next 5 to 6 minutes of nothing.
Well, look, we enjoy your review of the Falcons, Stu. It's always great to hear. It's a wake-up call that the Falcons don't have a Super Bowl. And, that's okay for now. It's okay, I'm hoping that in my lifetime we will win one. More than likely it won't be with Matt Ryan. And I've pretty much accepted that now, that the team they're not going to get talented enough before it's over with. Which, with the end of the Killer Bees, though, like I said, it was an interesting article I read about Matt Ryan possibly becoming the Steelers quarterback next year.
I mean, but, no disrespect to Matt Ryan, because I don't give him respect anyway. There's nothing that he could do for us that Big Ben hasn't. And what I mean by that is, what I say at this point in their career is Matt Ryan a better passer? Sure. But that AFC style of football is not something that Matt Ryan can handle day in, day out. Those edge rushers up there, Matt Ryan is not built to play against the Bengals and then to play against the Ravens and then to play against the Cleveland Browns. He wouldn't survive. Now he can do that. He can do that in the South, when he's playing against, broken up Saints teams and hobbled Panthers teams. Matter of fact, name 2 starters on the Panthers defense right now. Go.
Well, J.C. Horn.
Okay.
They don't have Luke Kuechly anymore. They got
so I said name people who are starting. Okay, so and that's my point.
During the air, I mean,
look. But what I'm saying is, at this point in his career, he's not mobile. He's not giving you too much more mobility. Yeah, he can pass the ball, but if I'm an honest fan, I'm not a fanatic. our offensive line isn't that good protection wise anyway, and also where we can't develop the run the way we want to. So he doesn't give us a better chance to win. We would need somebody who is still in their prime, who is mobile, who can throw the ball, who can get outside the pocket. And Matt Ryan nor is Ben Roethlisberger, those people at this time. So let's keep him where he is. Hell, I think the Dolphins are going to be looking for a quarterback pretty soon. So
he just won games. I don't.
Hey,
when you're,
can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool, man. So we're gonna talk about Big Ben. The end of Big Ben. You're trying to slot Matt Ryan in there. I think if the Steelers do that, that's worse than them keeping Big Ben this year.
Really?
He's not ready. You're gonna have to take on so much cap,
and I think that's where they would be hurt. It would be the cap.
Right. You're going to take up so much cap for a slightly better performance. I mean, I've been talking about the Matt Ryan special all year. Third down, he's going to get sacked. Okay. But the end of the Big Ben era is great. You summed it up very well, Jew. So with the RIP to Big Ben, he got to go out with victory formation, man. Who do you see filling that role next year?
Who do I realistically see filling that role, or who, as a Steelers fan, who I will want to see?
Let's go. Who would you like to see, and then we'll go into who do you actually see filling that role. I'm saying Dwayne Haskins.
Okay. Well, as of course, I would want us to go for the big fish in the market, and that's Desean Watson. That's potentially Aaron Rodgers. There's one more quarterback out there who's supposed to be on the chopping block as well, and Russell Wilson.
He's not.
I would want to see us at least pursue those type of talents. I would. Desean Watson, of course, until he gets done with his cases, he probably won't see the field. But you know what?
That's
maybe him and Ben. Maybe him and Ben get the same lawyer. It worked for Ben.
Shit. And I don't think it hurt him. And here's the thing. I think that with the Desean Watson angle, he's probably going to get time served. I do think that they're going to credit him for missing this whole year as a suspension.
You have to. You have to.
I don't know. To me, I would look at a suspension for something like this probably being a year. I mean, at most 18 games, right? But I could see that being something, but the thing is, I don't think you guys have the capital to get him anyway.
Well, I don't think it's that we don't have the capital to get him. I think it's more so historically the Rooneys don't spend money.
You got to go through the draft.
Yeah, and I was talking to my dad about this the other day. I said, Dad, who was our last marquee free agent that we got besides Mika Fitzpatrick?
And
he had to go all the way down to Jerome Bettis. So that's not something we do as a franchise. That's why I know, as much as I would love to see someone like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Desean Watson wearing that black and gold, it's not going to happen. But if you're asking me as someone who is realistic in who I would want to see, I was of the mindset last year that I really want to see someone. I want to see backup quarterbacks that beat us get a shot. So I liked Heineke out of Washington. Last year, I liked him. I liked a guy that was still young, had potential. Was mobile. You could work with that. There's things in there that you can groom him and maybe slow or lessen the playbook to at least fit him until he gets his confidence. We don't have to ask him to do too much. We got Najee Harris. I also like Huntley out of Baltimore. I think he's an excellent backup, and I think he's the type of guy that if you actually give him a chance and he can show you his work, you take a chance on him. I mean, because Huntley has really been sticking in these games, over this past couple of weeks that Lamar has been out, and actually has been, dare I say, playing better than Lamar did. Because last time we saw Lamar threw 4 interceptions in a game.
What about a Andy Dalton or a Nick Foles?
Next question.
Yeah, I could truly see them going through the draft to get the quarterback. I mean, obviously, a lot of people look at Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh because he goes to Pittsburgh. I mean, we already kind of saw that happen with James Conner. You guys took the hometown hero. And it worked out for a little bit, I think. I think it was okay for a little bit. But
he was okay as a backup.
He looks great with the Cardinals this year. So, something like that. I could see them doing it like how they do traditionally through the draft. And the question would be, with a guy like Kenny Pickett, would he even fall that far? Because you guys will probably be drafted 16th or so, 17th. That's about where you guys, typically.
Yeah, right after us.
Yeah, not too far after us. I mean, you only got one more win, But, I could see it being that. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Matt Corral even falls, especially after getting injured.
I'm hearing everyone saying he's a second round pick right now. We know that's going to change when we get close to the draft, but I'm hearing second round.
If people think Kenny Pickett's the best quarterback in the draft, he's definitely the second best.
Well, the thing is, though, me personally, I don't want a quarterback that we need to groom up, unless. And I will honestly say that this QB draft, as it pertains to the Steelers, is a weak class, because going into it, all the stars who you thought were supposed to be good and the front runners for the Heisman either got hurt or they got beat out. So the people that people already had circled on the Todd McShay's had circled on their draft board, beginning of the season, we've now been reduced down to Kenny Pitts. And that's not to say Kenny. Mm-hmm.
Guess who may come? Guess who's probably going to be available? Jimmy G. Good chance Kirk Cousins might become available. It's going to be some stuff out there.
And I'll take a Kirk Cousins, and I wouldn't mind taking a Jimmy G. I think, but those type of guys, Jimmy G, he has a real style of play that he needs. And at least with Kirk Cousins, I'm going to get someone who's going to sling the ball. At least I'm going to get somebody who's going to throw it downfield. But as it pertains to
all the time.
I mean,
and y'all playing prime time because y'all are Steelers.
We play prime time ball, So it's I personally am not of the fan of the mindset of this homegrown thing that the Rue needs to do. I think that was something you could do way back when your money was longer than other people's. But at the point now, when you have cap space and you have guys who are coming into the league ready, and you have teams who are going out there and spending money. I mean, think about a team like the Chiefs. They went out and they spent money. There's a reason why the team was constructed the way they did, because they saw Patrick Mahomes to come in and he could take over with all these stars. Baker Mayfield on paper should have had a phenomenal season. Yeah, he got hurt, but Baker is also overrated. But the team has constructed.
Read that down there.
Yeah, and as a team is constructed, they should have had an amazing season, with all the talent he had, so I'm not, but you look at what happened with Joe Burrows. Joe Burrows came in NFL ready, he got hurt, but he came back with a team that was ready to go. So I'm not trying to wait and draft a guy and let's try to build him up. We're not doing the Trevor Lawrence thing. That shit's painful to watch. And quite frankly, our franchise has a higher standard than that. We don't put out dribble.
Well, the Steelers have to ask themselves too, how Super Bowl ready are they? I mean, that's what determines that type of stuff. Are we really going to compete for a Super Bowl?
And maybe let's keep on that high standard of the Steelers franchise. I think Mike Tomlin earned so many more brownie points Sunday. We got Antonio Brown. Antonio about business Brown. Antonio the jackass Brown.
Sorry, guys. I just saw that I was underdressed for this conversation. So I had to go ahead and put something on that, mimics something so we can have an appropriate conversation. It's Juju's number, but it's a custom-made jersey. We don't support TikTok fans here. Real Steelers fans, we don't support that TikTok before games just to get hurt and things like that. So it may be his number.
The whole damn wide receiving core.
So
well, it's not.
Let me be real quick, guys. So Antonio Brown has a track record, and there are some parts of his track record that I'm not going to get into, and there's some that I want to talk about. He turns back on the Pittsburgh Steelers that last season there. They were still fighting for a playoff spot, and he acted a jackass, because that's me as a jackass, and he got sent home by Coach Tomlin. If you go back before that, he records Coach Tomlin in the post-game or Facebook Live, jackassery. Going on live, talking crazy about his baby moms, that's jackassery. Like, you can feel that, but doing that on social media is jackassery. Tossing furniture off the 14th floor, that's jackassery. Going to a cryo chamber with wet feet, that is jackassery. Trying to sneak a helmet that you know is not legal is jackassery. Okay, when he finally got let go after calling his GM a racial slur, and he ended up having to give back his signing bonus, jackassery. You know, he just has this long line of jackassery. Like, he doesn't pay people for providing services. Jackassery. The COVID card thing, I don't really care about that. It's a lot of people that have fake COVID cards, and he's not the only one in the NFL. But because he didn't pay anybody, he's the one that got caught. Then finally, here comes a time where we should show some remorse for Antonio Brown. If what was reported was true, that he went out there, he tried to tough through an injury that he'd been sidelined for prior to his suspension. He was really he lost pay for 3 games, but he was only going to play in one of those games because of the injury. He toughs it out. He doesn't practice this week. First half, he's playing 5 targets, 3 catches. Apparently, according to Skip Bayless and his sources, somebody close to AB was talked when the time and was like, "Hey, man, giving your boy the ball." Speaking of Gronk, because Brady was heavy on Gronk. Yeah, AB, he likes you, but you're not Gronk. And that was an issue. Then Bruce Arians told me to get back in the game. AB goes, "Hey, man, I can't, coach. I'm hurt." And it's like, "Hey, get your ass back in the game or go home." And if you know anything about AB, when you give him the opportunity to act up, oh, he's going to take it. And that's exactly what happened there. Now, the unfortunate part is because of the way he exited, we're not even giving Bruce Arians the attention that he deserves, because what Bruce Arians did is absolutely fucked up. If a player is hurt and he says, "Coach, I can't go," who the hell are you to say get off this team if you can't go? But Bruce Arians was looking for a reason to get rid of AB because he didn't want him there. But the problem is AB has cried jackass so many times that the time that he actually deserves remorse, we can't give it to him, because what does he do? He takes all his stuff off on the field. He throws his gloves. He throws his undershirt into the stands, and he's doing jumping jacks in the back of the end zone, looking like a darn jackass. So I really hate that, that this has happened, but we can't sympathize with him because, for one, he's been enabled for so many years. The Steelers enabled it because he was great. The Raiders enabled behavior because he was great. The Patriots enabled behavior because he was great. Tom Brady enabled his behavior because he was great. But now the greatness is running low and the behavior is running high. And here's my one issue, though. For all of these people on TV who are trying to say, is it CTE? He needs the mental health. What is it? Like, bro, get out of his head. Evaluate what you see and comment on it. Because guess what? Even if it is mental health, it is your responsibility to manage your mental health. If I go shoot up a school, if I go shoot up a park, if I just shoot up my apartment complex right now and I cry mental health, guess what? I may not be in prison at first, but I'm going to be in a psych ward because I could not control my mental health. Okay, and for y'all to try to get in his head and then paint him as this mental health victim and you don't know what's going on, shut up. Dan Patrick talked about, I don't really think he's been the same since that Vontaze Burfict kid. Get out of here, bro. He got kicked out of FIU for fighting as like a security guard before he even played it down for him. This has been conduct that he has been guilty of throughout his life. I can't sum AB up as anything more than like a nigga who know he good, who's been enabled because he was good his entire life and it's finally ran out.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, I think that AB, obviously, we already kind of just gave him his flowers as a player. We know he's tremendously talented. He is one of the best receivers of the 2010s for sure. Him and Julio, literally the only 2 guys that really would even be in that conversation. And I think that you're pretty spot on with it. I mean, I think that because he's older and then it just continues to happen, these things are putting him in a position to where people are going to have that opinion of mental health. I mean, that was coming back from Buffalo. That was the first thing I thought when I read that. I was like, man, he's got some serious issues. Like, you know what I mean? And then I saw another video that resurfaced that you didn't even throw in that that chronologic order of events in his career, but him farting like in his fucking doctor's face. Like, there's like a lot of just weird shit, man. And, you know, it's unfortunate to see before our eyes. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think that a guy like AB is still probably going to be recognized for what he did on the field, probably more than these antics. And, you know, at least from somebody, when you think of AB, you're not going to think of like the crazy shit. Like, you know, like people think of, when they think of Dennis Rodman, they think of like that crazy shit that Dennis Rodman used to do too. But everybody's
you're giving the white media way too much credit.
You said who?
You're giving the white media way too much credit. They made T.O. wait.
I think that, and you know, but how does the media perceive a guy like AB? Like in terms of, you know, yeah, there's this incident that just happened, but
how do they perceive him in their brains, or how do they perceive him in their mouths and pens?
The pens.
The pens. He's a
he
great
gets all the
athlete.
accomplishments.
He's a great athlete, but he has some mental health issues. But in their brains, he's a terrible person.
He's a nigga.
He's a nigga.
Yeah, he's a nigga.
But that's what it all boils down to. Like, if you just want to sum AB's like conduct up, we
nigga.
all know a nigga like that. We all played sports with a nigga like that who was good as hell and would just be like, bro, fuck this, I'm going home, I quit.
Yeah, he's a nigga. Like,
and coach called him back the next day. Yeah, bro, you know what I'm saying? Coach called me, so I had to come back. You know what I mean? I wouldn't leave y'all like that. Yes, you would. You ain't gonna talk to me like that, coach. Nigga logic. So we're gonna allow Jew, when he comes back, to give his parting words to AB, and then we're gonna pivot to a little college football. I just don't. No, we got end of season awards to go to. I don't really want to beat up on Baker again. I feel like we just tell Baker how much he sucks every week.
he's cooked.
I think TJ Watt did enough of that last night.
His career, yeah, he did. His career is as over in Cleveland as AB's is in Tampa.
It's not.
I don't think he'll play another down for the Browns.
He's gonna get that surgery. He's gonna come back next year, and that next year, I think the Browns already know they're moving on from him. Next year is his chance to increase or further decrease his stock and being traded.
Hey, next year he's trying out for the Falcons next year.
Right.
Yeah.
Browns,
next year's tryouts.
Everything in their power to get Kirk Cousins on their roster.
There's next year for the Browns is tryouts, but on the subject of AB, as a Steelers fan, and more so as a black man, you know, I was always raised that, you know, you want to support your own. So, you know, whether or not I was a fan of a quarterback, Mike Vick, I had his jersey, you know, because he was a black quarterback.
That's exactly how my mom was. She told us we didn't get anybody else's jersey.
Yeah, I've never owned a Big Ben jersey, you know, but I've owned a Mike Vick jersey, you know, and so I just hate to see a talent like AB be reduced down to field antics, because we already know that wide receiver position one, it's already known for being divas and hot-headedness and to be extra as hell. Because hell, look at the way they try to demonize someone like Odell Beckham Jr., who hasn't done nothing legally wrong or never wronged anybody, but they don't like his antics, so that's enough for them to badmouth him. But when he's winning and catching balls, then everything's fine. But as it pertains to AB, I think it really goes down to the person versus the product. And I think that for a long time, people have overlooked who the person of AB was for the product that AB provided. I think that this goes back way before AB got into the NFL, the pros, to college. I think this is AB as a child when they realized he was a gifted individual. Now, I'm out of the one to say something's mentally wrong with him, and I'll touch on that piece a little bit later. But as a child, once they realized AB had talent, you know, and especially coming from where he comes from, that's something that our community at all costs will try to preserve, because we know.
Real quick on that one, I got a friend, right? He ended up playing basketball overseas. If you're from Carterville, you know who I'm talking about. I remember when he would get like if he would get in trouble middle school on like a Friday, they will hold the write-up until Monday. So then they would process it so he could play a basketball game on Saturday. We don't play again until Thursday. So he'll do his ISS during the week and then can play again on Thursday and Saturday.
Right. So a guy like AB, the rules have never really applied to him. And then we all know that they should. I'm a man of accountability. Life isn't fair, but it can be equal. For someone, you see someone like AB, it was never quote unquote fair looking through our lens, because AB was probably allowed to get away with a lot of stuff. Well, hey, no, this is a grown person show. A lot of shit that we weren't allowed to get away with. We would have gotten in trouble for it. My write-up got processed on the spot, and it could have been 6th period, but guess what? I'm spending 7th period in ISS. I'm getting an early start. So you have the product of AB so all his life he's been able to act and move it in a way, because in many Black communities, football sports is the way out. Unfortunately, that is the golden ticket. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure you get there. But by that time, you have someone who has been told in middle school, in high school, all these developmental years, my behavior is okay. So the first time I have some type of accountability is college, where players, back then, they don't hold any leverage. There's a reason why AB and his talent didn't go to Alabama, because Nick Saban's not going to put up with that shit. You got to go to a school who needs you just as much as you need them. Where it's like, well, hey, I need to get my program off the ground. I got to take chances on these guys. Alabama and these schools, they're not taking chances on guys. If you're a problem, you're not coming there. And if we find out you're a problem while you're there, well, here's the door. So then you get to the pros. And for me, I don't necessarily mind too many antics on the pros, because someone like Ryan Clark said, who just thinks he's just the greatest Steeler of all time, and he's just Mr. All Steeler all of a sudden. But Ryan Clark, you really weren't doing shit on the field like that. You kind of got carried by Troy Polamalu and Porter to get those rings. By the way, just saying, yeah. But not to say I don't appreciate your contributions to the rings, but make no mistake, you weren't a focal point of that defense ever. So but like Ryan Clark said, I don't mind what you do off the field as long as it doesn't affect you on the field. There's a lot of guys, who's dirt that we just don't know about. But when they come to the field on Sunday, they show up and they produce, and it's okay. So I don't mind that, I don't mind the I don't hey, we all got issues with the mother of our children, our girlfriends, our side pieces. Hey, listen, it ain't always pretty. And unfortunately, and I would hope that I would never want to record that stuff on camera, but I'm not going to sit here as act as if I've never had issues with a significant other. Like I've never not showed my ass before. The difference is nobody cares about Drew Turner. Nobody's turning the camera phone on to say, oh, that's Drew Turner of the such and such to record me, But as it pertains to what happened on Sunday, if the reports are true that, hey, he said he couldn't go, and then Bruce Arians is saying, well, if you can't go, get off the field and basically head to the locker room, that's fucked up. And I take myself back down to a place of what would your average day person be? We all know people who say, if you go to work and you tell your boss you're not feeling good, well, they say, well, if you're not feeling good, we'll go home and get the hell out of here. Not saying, hey, we'll clock out and we'll take some time off. Basically, if you can't work, you're fired. So AP said basically, oh, well, I'm fired. Then fuck it, I'm fired. Now I think there's a difference between being a pro and a professional, and I think AB's never truly figured that out. He was always a pro and never professional, because I think there was a professional way to handle that. Even if the coach dismissed you in that way, there's a way of okay, well, I'm gonna walk away gracefully and just not basically exacerbate the situation. And I just think, like you said, any chance AB gets to douse an already burning building with gasoline, he's going to do it. And what he did was he just poured a whole bunch of gasoline on something that could have easily been swept under the rug. Reporters probably like, hey, what happened with AB? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's who AB is, But what is really sad is because of something like this, I can see the white media honestly not even allowing him in the Hall of Fame because of this. because the talk is that you had somebody who quit on their team. Now, but he got cut. But his antics overshadowed what the hell Bruce Arians did. And I take it back to basketball. Remember when Scottie Pippen said his back hurt and he couldn't play? And Michael Jordan thought that was the weakest shit ever. You know? Michael Jordan said, well, if you can go, you can go. And blah, blah, we all have to sacrifice and blah, blah, blah. But now everyone looks at everyone recognizes Scottie Pippen's greatness. Now, I think in our community we'll always recognize who and what Antonio Brown was, but I think that because of this and because of what the media is going to portray him as and what they're going to continue to say, he's not. I have a hard time seeing him making it to the Hall of Fame because they're going to call him a quitter, and I don't like that.
He's definitely going to be a toss up, and I think that's pretty spot on, Jew. Honestly. And the biggest thing is that I kind of took away from it as soon as I saw the clip. Like I said, he's probably never going to play another down in football. Not in the NFL, he's not. And I think that he's got such a presence, too, on social media in a weird way to where he'll probably be a successful podcaster.
Oh, well, I don't think he will be because I don't know if you actually saw his video trying to – I don't think if you actually saw his video trying to send – his words out to Big Ben and saying that he still had some more left in the tank. He can't articulate his words for shit. And that goes back more so to as a child, you know, instead of putting that extra attention onto him in school books and actually reading and writing and things that will propel you further in life, they said, no, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
get on the field and catch this ball.
He'll be able to talk about nigga shit with niggas. Like, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
he
didn't get into Florida State because of his academics. And you know, if you're that good, how bad your academics have to be for the school not to look out for you.
Well, right, because he went to Central. He graduated. He went Central Michigan's where he ended up getting drafted out of, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Max.
And back there, he was missing meetings, late for meetings. He's been the same guy throughout his. For what we know, his adult life, I'm sure it was not much different in high school. And it goes back to what Jew was saying about like, hey, you're good, so this works. But look, we've been here for 42 minutes, and we're not getting paid by the Steelers to just keep going with their propaganda. Let's talk about some end-of-season awards. And as I say, we're not getting paid by the Steelers for propaganda. I think the most debatable end-of-season award this year, besides Coach of the Year, which nobody actually really cares about.
Who gives a shit? Another white guy getting an award for managing niggas.
Because you know the real coaches who deserve Coach of the Year are the Arthur Smiths, the Mike Tomlins of the world, one who sucked every fucking win out of their roster. Where you look at it, you go, you got how many wins? But it's gonna go somebody like McVay or Cliff. Or I wouldn't mind seeing Bill win it this year.
I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Bill got it.
Yeah, but like, I hope so. But let's DPOY. You got some candidates, but it's super weird this year. So you got TJ Watt, maybe the better of the Watt brothers, who is challenging Michael Strahan's sack record. And I hope they don't give it to him like they did Strahan on that last sack, which was just garbage. No pride, offensive lineman, no pride, quarterback, just to give this man a sack for a record. And now I got to look at him on TV every single day. Like, hey, Mike, I guess you're good at TV, but is anybody ever like, hey, I want to hear that Michael Strahan exclusive? No.
What's Michael Strahan's take on this?
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's get Ja Rule in here while we're at it.
All right. Where is Ja?
So then you got Micah Parsons, where that's Dallas hype machine. You know, the last time a player got rookie defensive player of the year and defensive player of the year is Lawrence Taylor. And I struggle just giving him both awards because we're talking about Lawrence Taylor. Some people say the greatest football player ever. Yeah. I mean, this guy was going on coke benders and coming out and getting 4 sacks, you know. Micah Parsons is good, but he's not that. Then you have the corner, Trayvon Diggs, sorry, you give up more yards than anybody in the league. If we double move you, you're toast. But he's grabbing picks because if he's there, he will make a play.
He's
on
taking
the ball.
it. Yeah, he's picking that
And
motherfucker.
it might be making a house call with it too.
Yeah, then because he was he came to Alabama as a wide receiver, but too deep.
Oh yeah, that because think about it, Alabama's wide receiver you now.
Yeah, I mean, they're football you. They're just you. Like they're the you now. Like we don't care about Miami. Alabama's the you.
Well, they're the 33rd NFL team.
And then you have some people say Myles Garrett, but Cleveland not happening. Then others may say Aaron Donald just because he's Aaron Donald. I don't think so, man.
He gets kind of overshadowed because of how great he is. It's like when he's doing shit,
he's LeBron.
It just seems normal. So it's just like, so he'll always be in the conversation. But I think that it's easy to pretty much, it comes down to just TJ and Micah. And TJ gets it 9 times out of 10 because even if he doesn't get the sack on Sunday to tie it, or, of course, get 2 or 1.5 to break it, that still is an ass load of stats. And the Steelers still had a top 10 defense this season. The Cowboys, obviously, they have the wins and then they've got the lore of the Cowboys, but TJ also plays for the Steelers. So we're talking about, arguably, certainly and then now I guess the Patriots are in it too, but we're talking about 2 of the 3 winningest teams in NFL history. And so I think that TJ gets it simply because he can break/tie the record. But Micah, to me, has definitely been a bigger impact on his team because of how bad the Cowboys defense was last year. It was one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And, give guys like Diggs their credit for playing better too. And then, Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn deserves a lot of credit for coming in and implementing his system. It doesn't work.
That name Dan Quinn, where have I heard that from before? What is he famous for?
Clock management in the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. All right.
And allowing his offensive coordinator to throw the ball every play when you're up. Yeah. So I would probably give that vote of confidence to TJ just because of that alone.
Well, there's no surprise here. I think we all know that for a second straight year in a row, TJ Watt is deserving of Defensive Player of the Year. In this year, let's see if I can. So right now he has 21.5 sacks. The record is 22. Which Michael Strahan 22.5, which Michael Strahan holds. Let's see if I can pull up his stats all the way.
I want to say he played in 12 or 13 games.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's crazy. He has missed games this year. Hell,
he
had 4 last night, didn't he?
He had 4. Yeah. So let's
punching bag. Gosh.
So let's just start here, okay? And this is a word from our good Unc Shannon Sharp. There is no general manager right now that would take Michael Parsons over TJ Watt. Even the Dallas Cowboys would swap Michael Parsons right now in that $100+ million contract that TJ Watt has. Also, that TJ Watt was voted over Cowboys Michael Parsons for 2021 NFL Defensive Player of the Year by executives. I mean, so it's pretty clear that what we're seeing here is that everyone recognizes that what this guy is doing, not to minimize Diggs, because I think catching, a whole bunch of picks, that's some really cool shit. Hey guys, that's some really cool shit. But I also remember you getting beat on those double moves too, Diggs. But that's some really cool shit. Hey, Michael Parsons, you're having a phenomenal season. But TJ Watt, for the better half of his career, has been a staple of always being at least top 3 to 5 in that conversation. These last couple of years, he's really made that final push. Last year, I think he should have won it. But I understand Aaron Donald, but I still think he should have won it. But this year, it's TJ Watt. It's not even close. And I think on Sunday, when he play against the Ravens, he locks up that record by Michael Strahan, and hopefully he passes it. I mean, because what you're basically seeing is, and I don't know if you guys watched that game yesterday, you're watching a guy who is probably not the biggest or the most physically talented, but he has that it factor that no matter what, I'm not going to get denied. He was either hitting Baker Mayfield, he was either batting his balls down, or he was forcing out of the pocket. I mean, he made his night so uncomfortable
It's
Baker
though.
He blows.
I mean, but there's also every other quarterback in the league he's done this to. I mean, so so long story short, the defensive player of the year is TJ Watt. If he doesn't get it, it's probably because of someone like Colin Hurd and and his infatuation for his hatred for the Steelers, and he'll probably be the last person to have to give his vote in, and he's going to say, you know what, I'm voting for the guy out of Houston Texans. What he's been doing down there, no one's talking about.
Oh man, Calhoun, he doesn't hate the Steelers.
Yeah, he
does.
So
but
yeah, he does.
Let's get to the MVP. To me, Big Ben is the front runner. I just dropped this in our group from Mike Florio. One of the 50 voters who will decide the year's MVP award says he has ruled out voting for Aaron Rodgers, going on to say he is a bad guy and the biggest jerk in the league. Who cares? That goes back to the AB conversation we were having earlier about why he'll struggle to get into the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter what kind of guy you are. The product on the field is what matters. And to me, in my eye, Aaron Rodgers has been the best and most consistent quarterback all year. For God's sake, he beat the Cardinals, who are a playoff team, without his top three receivers. He survived.
Went down in the second quarter of that game.
Right. He survived when Aaron Jones was out for a few games.
And they have the best record in the NFL.
Yeah, and not to mention, he still hasn't got Bakhtiari back. Jair Alexander's not back. We got the speed rusher from
the
Stone
other
Mountain.
Smith.
Yeah, Darius Smith. He's done a lot this year, and I mean he's made old Goody look crazy for drafting Jordan Love. I said hiring and firing, which he should do to Jordan Love. But I can't see how Aaron Rodgers isn't the MVP. Give me y'all's thoughts, and then we'll get into this Aaron COVID conversation, because that was an interesting COVID conversation we've had over like the last 2 months in the group.
Yeah, he's going to be a runaway probably at this point. I know that I think when we visited this topic in the middle of the season, it was pretty apparent to us. We were like, Lamar was looking like it. Obviously, he's missed way too many games, and the Steelers just haven't won. I mean, not Steelers, the Ravens just haven't won. So, of course, he gets X'd out. Somebody like Brady, he's had a couple of head-scratching games. Obviously, that stinker where they got shut out by the Saints at home.
And he has a lot of just stats. Like, he's on pace. I mean, not on pace, but he could beat Peyton's record for most pass attempts in the league in history.
Well, and it's impressive, too. You start talking about with a guy like Brady, he's never in his 21-year career, 21-year career, he's never had back-to-back seasons of 40 touchdowns. But somehow, some way, at fucking 44 and 43, and obviously that's a big part of it, too, which kind of creeps into the AB conversation, too, just because, well, Bruce Arians is a respected coach in the league, so a lot of people are going to take his word anyways, especially over a guy like AB. But point being, Brady, obviously, I think that he probably ends up being the runner-up. But
Josh Allen,
Aaron Rodgers award to lose. I don't really see anybody that's really in it, to be totally honest. There were a lot of people early in the season that did have a chance, but at this point, best record, stats are there. And he's doing it with all that noise, like was he going to be fucking hosting Jeopardy and all this other crazy stuff going into the season? And he just goes out there, man, and he just balls out. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Aaron Rodgers is the MVP again this season.
I mean, what Aaron Rodgers is able to do with the ball, I think everyone recognizes him as probably the most physically gifted person ever to throw a football. I mean, and yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he's flashy. He's that brand new sports car. But there's a reason why people who buy Porsches always keep buying Porsches. It's just something about that Porsche they just really, really like. And I think Aaron Rodgers, from what he's gone through, especially with the offseason BS, of him trying to hold the franchise hostage, and then coming into the season and not having all of his weapons all the time, but still finding a way to win. I think his record, like his touchdowns to interception record, I think for the last 2 years is is wild, like 100 and something to like 14 interceptions. I mean, something just something just unreal. And this year he's just showing it yet again while he is that bad man that one guy on TV says all the time. Mr. First Take himself.
Of ESPN?
Yeah, Mr. First Take himself. That bad man. I mean, because he truly is. I mean, so yeah. But So Aaron Rodgers wins it. T.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year.
All right.
Rookie of the Year, Michael Parsons.
Okay, so we had this conversation in our group multiple times, and the one thing that may stop Aaron from winning the MVP is his immunized quote, right? And I thought Aaron was misleading with the media. That's his right. Whoever tells the media the truth. Not many of our high-end popular players do that. I mean, Tom Brady didn't give a real interview for 20 years in New England, if we're being honest. But there's this argument that because he claimed immunization and AB faked immunization or vaccination, that they're being held to a different standard. And on the surface, absolutely. But if we look, into what Aaron actually did, Aaron disclosed to the league and his team what it is that he was doing. And he questioned the standard because it didn't make sense to him, which I can understand. And as an unvaccinated player, he was still subject to testing every single day. And he went forward with that. So although we don't like the fact that he lied to the media, he did not lie to the Packers. He did not lie to the NFL. So I think that's why it seemed differently, because AB got caught lying to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the NFL because, he didn't pay his chef. And I don't know why you tell your chef you had a fake vaccine card. Like, that's just stupid.
Weird conversation.
Maybe he bought it from the chef.
Well, the chef's cooking up. He's over here taking shots, and he's just over here like, hey, and another thing. Yeah, I want my shit medium well. But yeah, that vax shit, hell yeah, man. You just having conversations you shouldn't be having with the hired help. Thinking that they're homeboys and he's not on the payroll.
Yeah, I mean, he's not on the payroll. He's providing services and he's getting stiffed. But I mean, why would you take a business? Why would you take AB as a client? Like he may or may not pay you. He's unreliable. But anyways, Ju, you felt strongly about this vaccine thing and how they're being treated differently. So just talk about it a little bit.
All right. So briefly, what I would say is that what Aaron Rodgers did was he lied. It wasn't misleading. It wasn't whatever. He flat out lied. And I'm going to call a liar when I see one. Now, at the same time, I mean, do I care that he necessarily lied? No, because I don't think that he's the only one around the league who's lying. I think what you're seeing is a player. Look, I'm not going to hold my words here. You're seeing a white quarterback getting the white privilege that we know that America has. And that's what you saw. You saw a player that is above average. You saw that is probably the top 10 at his position of all time. Hell, we just ranted about him being the MVP. A guy who knows his worth, he knows his leverage, that he really thinks he can do whatever the hell he wants to do. Whether it's, hold the organization hostage, whether it's, show up when he wants to, whether if he wants to get in front of the camera and the media and lie to us, and not only lie to us, but also then have the audacity to talk about other people as if he's not the same person he's talking about. He said here, I'm not one of these guys who aren't unvaccinated, who are, thinks this, blah, blah, but you're the same person you're talking about, and try to separate yourself from them too, because you just think you're just that superior to everybody else. And my problem with it is that we keep saying that he didn't lie to the organization. Well, he might not have lied to the medical staff, but as we all know, certain information is HIPAA and you're not privy to that information. So what I tell my doctor is not disclosed by the entire hospital. So whatever I tell my doc at work, all my sailors don't know. So yeah, my doc may know that I'm vaccinated or unvaccinated, whatever, what have you. But if I go in front of all of everyone, in front of everybody, and I have a press conference and I tell the world that I'm vaccinated,
immunized,
and by CDC standards, that means to be vaccinated. That's what the definition means. I just lied to everybody. So it doesn't matter what I say. Well, the Packers do, not the trainer you work with, not the person who massages you every day, not the ball boy, not the guy who's your hiker, the guy's taking a knee and is simulating hiking you the ball every day, not the person who's giving a press conference, because what they heard you say is a lie, and everyone believed you, and the only reason it came out is because of I would say it's a whistleblower, because ain't nobody in their right mind, unless you just don't like the guy. Probably that one exec who said he's a bad guy and shouldn't win the MVP. It's probably the guy's like, hey, isn't this guy not immunized? I mean, because last time I checked, this guy was at Halloween parties with the team not wearing a mask. There was no social distancing going on there. So, and what I'm not saying what Antonio Brown did was right or wrong. What I'm saying is that I don't care about fairness. I'm talking about equality. You had two players who lied about it. But you have one player who just happens to has a history of being what's it called, a jackass. But more importantly, you have a black nigga, and then you have Aaron Rodgers, quote unquote, the golden standard. And what you saw was even in America, the type of punishment that's levied out. Antonio Brown, who at the time ended up getting vaccinated, who is vaccinated, ended up missing 3 games. You know what Aaron Rodgers got for lying to the world? What AB lied to his team. What AB did is, in fact, was lie to the organization. Aaron Rodgers lied to the world, because AB didn't get in front of a stage and say, hey, here's a card. And it was fake. So everybody zoomed in. You see my name on it? AB got caught by the team, and then it came out by the team. Aaron Rodgers stood in front of the world and said, hey, guys, I'm vaccinated. But you know what that got him? An $11,000 fine. That's probably his fucking tab at dinner.
And he's going to get an MVP award.
And AB's getting involuntarily
and AB's career is ended.
So I'm not going to sit here. Do I think that disqualifies him from getting the end of the season award? No, because your talent is your talent. If you perform, you still deserve it. But I'm sick of this bullshit, as if like what we're basically saying is white is right and black is wrong. Well, the white guy did it, but he's different because he's Aaron Rodgers. No, Aaron Rodgers is a liar. He lied to everybody else, and I don't care how many touchdowns you threw, because you can be a liar and a great football player at the same time. They can both coexist. Yeah,
AB the jackass and a great football player.
They both coexist. But Aaron Rodgers is a liar, and I'll end this here. A lot of people say, because in our group we talked about this yesterday, well, why does it matter if he's vaccinated or not? Because him being vaccinated or not does not reduce or increase the transmission rate. You know what? And I say, hey, you're not wrong about that. But there are certain workplace environments that are trying to have an environment where they're putting health first, where they're trying not to expose people to viruses and health issues unbeknownst to them for no reason. There's many players and people that we know to this day who are still opting to work at home. There are some people who have the mindset and have the right to say, hey, I don't want to be around or be in a close room in an environment with people who have not been vaccinated. And that's their own personal right. It's not because, and that's how they feel. So when you have someone like Aaron Rodgers who comes out and lies to them, now people are making decisions under a false pretense.
So what about those who say that, the unvaccinated players are actually more safe in the NFL because they test every day and the vaccinated players test a lot less? So if someone who is vaccinated shows up asymptomatic, he could be passing along to the rest of the team and nobody know, because they get tested a lot less than those who are unvaccinated.
And I would say that's fair, but I don't give a damn. That has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers being a liar. That has nothing to do with nothing.
The rule
if
is the rule.
that's the case, I don't mind you testing everybody every day. I'm fine with that. But again, I have a problem with someone I'm about accountability. I have a problem with a grown man instead of saying, "Hey, next question," or "I'd rather not answer that this time." No comment. Instead, you thought of a witty way to fucking lie, and the only reason you got caught is because somebody said, "Oh, by the way, isn't he supposed to be?" That's the only way we found out.
You got anything to add to that parlay, Peter? You want to get into a little college football?
Let's get into a little college football.
All right, man. So Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard, face of college football for ESPN, had some spicy stuff to say. Desmond Howard, he had his cup of coffee in the NFL, so I do care what he says a little bit more to some degree. Then he won a
Heisman winner.
Yeah, Heisman winner. Didn't he win a Super Bowl with the Packers?
Yeah, one MVP.
Yeah, so he has an NFL legacy.
He's earned the right. He's earned the right.
Hey, Drew, we can barely see the top of your head.
Okay.
So then you have Kirk Herbstreit, who was a college guy, no pro career, a college guy. He's covered college football for many, many years and has worked his way up to becoming the face of college football for ESPN. I mean, he's no Joel Klatt, but nonetheless, he's pretty damn good at covering college football. And I think sometimes these guys who are college football guys, they forget about the bigger picture. You have those people who care so much about what we did at Morehouse, and it's like, hey, man, I'm 8 years removed from that. Let's talk about what we're doing today. Morehouse we can say Morehouse was the flower bed, but Morehouse isn't the blooming flower. This is just like where we got started our roots at, and if we're big enough, if we're a tree, we may start out in that little flower bed thing, but then eventually we got to get repotted into some new soil so we can actually reach our peak. And Kirk says these guys who don't want to play in these bowls, who want to opt out, don't love football. And maybe 20 years ago, that could be the case. But when you see people like Jalen Smith, now, if Jerry Jones wasn't just so gracious with his billions and wasn't trying to make a point to Dak, to try to get him to take less by just throwing away more and more money, Jalen Smith would have never got his big payday. Jalen Smith's career is over because he's lost his burst. And what happened? He got hurt in a bowl game. You got the running back from South Carolina. I can't think of his first name, but last name Lattimore.
Marcus Lattimore.
Marcus Lattimore, a beast. Blew out his knee twice in college football. Yeah, he had the insurance money, but never seen the light of day in the NFL.
Michigan tight end Jake Butt. He's another one. He was like a tight end that a lot of people saw could be a first-round pick. Blew out his knee and had like two different – the Broncos ended up drafting him, I think, in the 6th round. And then he just never even got to play a game with them. Like, he had to continue to get surgeries. I mean, so it happens all the time. Hell, we saw Matt Corral, who probably had the most to lose, probably one of the fewer high-profile players that didn't opt out of his bowl game. And what happens? Gets fucking hurt in the first quarter. So
I find it crazy that the people who are the face of the college bowl system, ESPN has the rights to the bowls, okay? NBC has the rights to the bowls. So, yeah, when the best players aren't playing, the TV product for a lot of schools isn't the same. But where Herbstreit went, the Ohio State, guess what happens when you don't have your top two prospects playing? You got one receiver who sets records and another receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., who goes for 3 tubs. Why? Because they're stacked. You're giving other players an opportunity. I listened to Cowherd talk about this week, and he talked about how Stanford, when they have kids there who have like great ideas, they say, hey, the idea is worth more than the piece of paper. Leave here, fuck this piece of paper, go develop the idea. We went to school with some guys who said, hey, this piece of paper is cool, but this idea that I got, Metro Boomin wants some more. Like, Hey, Morehouse, this is cool, bro. But these beats I'm making, this money I'm making off these beats, Future buying my beats, bro. Like I don't need you.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the creator of the metaverse. Mark Zuckerberg is probably the best example of somebody that went to school and dropped out. Or shit, Bill Gates too.
So the idea that these old school college folks, the Dabo Swinneys of the world, even the Herbs, which we're going to leave Herb alone. He didn't say anything, but I know how Herb feels here. I feel like I know. Your Herb Streets, your Desmond Howard, too, are so caught up in the purity of the game. From an analyst perspective, cool. From a fan's perspective, cool. But when you put yourself in that person's shoes and you go from being a first-round pick with guaranteed money and a fifth-year option to a fifth-round pick, and you're making a few $100,000.
And you're trying out for the team damn near.
And that's not piss money by no means, but it's the difference in changing your life and your family's life because you went and played a game that didn't boost your draft status. It was just to go out here one last time with the guys. The guys who get it, get it. You know what I mean? The guys who get it like, hey, bro, look, I love y'all, but we ain't about to play for no ring. And I got a first-round grade right now. I got like a top 15 grade. As long as I kill the combine on my pro day, I might jump to 10. I'll be on the sideline. If I'm Kenny Pickett, I'll be upstairs in the booth next to my OC, you know what I mean, breaking down the game from up top to help my team win. I just don't have a problem with it. And for those who have a problem with it, man, I think you're problematic because you're so consumed in your entertainment that you're not giving a damn about somebody else's life and their future.
If it's not a playoff game or a national championship, what reason would you have to play in it if you know that you're going to the draft? There's nothing that you can do. Like you said, it's not like it's somebody trying to boost their draft status. You know what I mean? These are people that are pretty much cemented. And at this point, the only thing that they can really do is go to the combine. And even that, a lot of players that are the top guys, they're opting out of that shit too, because it's just like, well, you already seen me play. I don't know what you seeing me run and jump is going to do, but
it's going to give them a Woody. They like to see niggas in tight clothes running and jumping.
Yeah, well, they want to be like, man, this guy's a freak. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like the slave auction, man. Kaepernick said all that stuff, but the combine is like
combine is the biggest like fucking slave trade like meeting. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got to think about it. It's a bunch of white men for the most part sitting in the stands, looking
with a fucking clipboard,
niggas run and jump, recording times. And deciding, okay, well, he's faster, so I want him. Even though we saw him catch the ball in the game, we saw his speed with the fucking football. I want to see him wearing almost nothing, and I want to see him run on that field with everybody else running. I want to see who's more competitive. Who wants to get the faster time?
And then when it's over, I'm gonna go get hammered in downtown Indy with my boys, and we're gonna talk about it and have a good old guys' night out.
It's like, hey, spread your arms out, lift your chin up, son. Lift it up. Yeah, open your palms up. Look at the back on that one.
Right. Well, think of that. Call for me one time.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I support the opt-outs and the transfer portal too. I mean, you can look at a team like Georgia, for instance, and they've got like 4 guys on scholarship at quarterback. But if they can get Caleb Williams from Oklahoma, why wouldn't they do that to make the team better when he's kind of a proven product? And you've been, for what it's worth, there's always seems to be some sort of a quarterback controversy at Georgia. Or if Arch Manning decides he wants to go, what's that 5-star that's supposed to be starting next year going to do? You know what I mean? Yeah. Give him an opportunity to play elsewhere.
Exactly.
I'll be quick on it. But listen, no one cares about these schools until athletes come there. Okay. These schools are nothing without these athletes that they put on the field. Okay, no one's going to Alabama for your education, and if you are, it's because you live there, and in-state tuition is a hell of a thing. Okay, but no one's going to these schools, so these athletes are what's making these schools all this ridiculous money. Okay, these contracts that these schools are getting is what's paying everyone's salary. Okay, not your tuition. Okay, so when you have these old guys. It's basically the old guy argument who just hates the new generation and what's going on. Because And I want to read what Shannon Sharp said. He said, "What about coaches that opt out of bowl games for higher paying jobs? Brian Kelly has done it twice, and Lincoln Riley just did it. This era of coaches just doesn't love football." Okay, or then if you go to, so then why doesn't Herb announce bowls for free, or work for the same salary he did when he was for 20 years ago? So the thing is this: what you finally have is that players making the Rose Bowl and these other bowl games are not a reward for them. It's really a meaningless game, and they know it. Now, for some players who are not fortunate enough yet, or not where they need to go yet to declare for the draft, or their stock not there, it's another opportunity to put their product on the field to be shown and say, "Hey, see what I got." But if I have guaranteed money already locked up, half of these niggas, the day after that final season game, they are now open to a new line of credit. They're getting fronted money. They're buying. So why in the hell would I?
They got fronted money 4 years ago when they were juniors.
You know what I'm saying? So why would I go out here and risk injury for nothing? Just for you to say that boy had heart. Well, he was a team player. These coaches. The thing is, these coaches do it. These coaches do it all the time. Coaches will quit on their teams mid-season for a bigger paycheck. Fuck a bowl game. Brian Kelly was in the position, but still in contention to go to the national championship, and he left. So I don't want to hear about a kid who this is his first $1 million. Maybe if he's lucky. Brian has been making millions of dollars for as long as we've been alive. So I don't want to hear that. The NCAA, what you're seeing is now that the power dynamic is shifting. And you got to, if you want this talent, you got to pay these boys. If you want that product on the field, well, incentivize the games then. Money talk. That's why you're calling the game though, right, Herb? You're not out here. You and Dez, you guys aren't here in the snow in the freezing cold because you just love football. Last time I checked, ESPN was paying you a check, or ABC. Millions. Somebody's paying you, right?
Millions.
So how about this? How about we don't pay you for the bowl game season? And you guys just do it off the love of the sport.
Hey, Brian, listen to this. They went from Miami Friday for the Georgia game to Pasadena Saturday morning to be there at the Rose Bowl. Who's trying to fly across country after being up all night?
Well,
the motherfucker that's getting a check.
But I'm sure you guys didn't fly, Coach.
Oh, well, and then there's that too. I bet money they weren't sitting in the middle seat. And
they were on Walt Disney's jet. They didn't even take the ESPN jet. I hear Herbie had access, and I forgot where Hurts is at. He has year-round access to the ESPN private jet. Like that's his car.
Oh yeah, he's familiar with the staff. Hell, they're damn near a second family.
And that's the part that really gets me. And we talk about this NIL stuff and how we're empowering the proletariat, if that's what we really want to get into. And nobody really wants to hear that because then they'll call me a Marxist, right? But what happens because college football, college athletes, they figured it out, especially the good ones. Hey, man, we're the talent. We're the money maker. As great of a coach as Nick Saban is, money maker. But freaking the kids get it. And if our society could figure that out, we could keep it moving. Hey, Pierce, do you have bets?
I do.
Okay, let's hop into the bets because we're running out of time. Yeah, we've been going for a long time. Quick college football championship pick. Who you got, Jew?
Go Dogs. Money line. I don't fuck a spread. I think with the spread is with -2.5.
Yeah.
No, that's too many points for me. Let's go ahead let's go ahead money line, hammer it, and hopefully we come home with a W.
What you thinking, Pierce?
I'm liking the Dogs too, and obviously Vegas feels the same, and that's exactly why they threw them on as the favorite, even though they got thrashed the first time around. I think that everybody knows that Georgia's been the better team all year, and Kirby's got to exercise that demon. And so do those boys, because everybody that's a senior on that team was a part of the team that went to the national championship the first time. And so I think that they're going to get it done, and that we finally, the state of Georgia finally can get spoiled with the Braves and the Dogs getting it done. White people are going to love it.
I mean, yeah, we deserve it. I listened to Feinbaum yesterday, and a guy he had on talked about how Kirby knew Tua was coming in that last game. They said he called it at halftime like Tua's coming in. But the problem is with Kirby knows what Nick's going to do, and Nick still just does it. But let's get to this parlay piece. Final regular season six-pack.
Yep, we got the final regular season six-pack. It's been a pleasure doing this all year, of course. Last week we went 5-1. Shout out to Tom Brady for fucking up and AB for leaving the game or getting kicked out of the game. They were the only team that disappointed us in the six-pack. But I've got a gut feeling that we'll close this season and start 2022 on a undefeated path to get this thing started. So let's dive into it quickly. We got the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, this game has no meaning whatsoever to it, except for it probably being Matt Nagy and Mike Zimmer's last games as coaches in that division. But either way, I think that they got the spread really, really low, and I don't know if Kirk Cousins just is going to opt out himself or what, but I'm going to assume that Kirk Cousins is going to play, and if he's going to play, I think that them at home at -2.5 is a great bet. I don't think that there's any way that you can't take them to win that game by a field goal or more. They're just a better team than the Bears. So give me the Vikings -2.5. Next game. This game actually does have some implications to it. The Titans can lock up a bye if they get a W here. We got the Titans at the Texans. They already got beat by them earlier this season. It was actually one of the games that I called too, where I kind of called that upset. Just the Titans really aren't that good of a team. But in a game that they must win, in a Texans team that's been playing relatively hard, I guess you could say, I'm going to side with the Titans on the spread. So give me the Titans at -9.5. I think that they do lock up the number one seed, and that I just read too that Derrick Henry will be practicing on Wednesday. So look out.
Hey, Bovada has him at -10.5 right now, real time. They have him at -10.5.
We're buying a point, Jew. Give me the 9.5. Okay. Yeah, we are buying a point there. Give me that at 9.5. Next game, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Bucs. Doesn't really have much implication for the Bucs either. I think that at this point, they're pretty much going to be set in stone really at that 4. I mean, of course, unless the Rams lose. But at this point, I think that the Cowboys and the Rams are going to end up taking care of business. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the Bucs at -8. Everybody's been kicking the Panthers' ass. They have totally mailed in this season. I don't even know who's going to start at quarterback because I don't believe Cam's not getting another start, and Darnold looked pretty bad last week too. Maybe they'll give P.J. Walker a chance. At this point, it won't matter. Brady's going to throw 3-4 touchdowns. Even without any receivers out there, Scotty Miller will have a big game. Give me the Bucs at -8 at home. Next game. As we just talked about, kind of, the Rams. We got the Rams and the 49ers. The Rams have lost 5 straight games to the 49ers. Shanahan has McVay's number, but the 49ers need to win this game in order to wrap up a playoff spot. If they don't get it done, the Saints could beat the Falcons. Who knows? They could. If the Saints beat the Falcons and the 49ers lose.
Well, they usually do.
That's going to be game. So, on this take, I do think the Rams are going to win the game, but I'm going to go ahead and side with the 49ers at +4 just because they do kind of have their number, and I expect it to pretty much be a game that comes down to the final possession, which could result in a field goal. Next game, we got the Chargers at the Raiders, and maybe I should have did this one last. Matter of fact, we will do that one last. So I know that we like to talk about how I don't like touching this, but go ahead. Let's go with that Saints-Falcons game. We're going to take the Falcons on the money line. I think that we end the season on a high note and win our last 2 games, and we beat the Saints. We sweep the Saints. And, that's something that Arthur Smith
All right, guys.
This season. And he could say that he swept the Saints. And then for the final game, we got the Chargers at the Raiders. This one is win, get in. we're going to go on ahead and say that the Chargers get it done. I think that Justin Herbert's been great all season, and the Raiders just have too much to go over. They just got another guy that got a DUI, and which actually I didn't realize he's actually been pretty damn good this season for them. He's a rookie, but he's been good. He's like been their best corner. But either way, Justin Herbert, I like Eckler. I like those guys to score a lot of points. Give me the Chargers on the money line.
All right, so to sum it up, we got the Vikings at -2.5, the Titans at -9.5. We're going to buy a point there. The Bucs at -8, 49ers +4, Falcons money line, Chargers money line.
You got it.
Hey, man, I've enjoyed you guys. Thanks so much, Parlay Pete. Jew, we should have had you here earlier. Not going to lie. You've been fucking amazing.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime you guys want unbiased football opinions or just opinions on life, and I'll be more than happy to come here. You know, I know you guys are tired of hearing all this Falcons dumb shit. So
well, we won't have to talk about the Falcons next week because it'll be playoff football. So, and we know
and neither will we. So,
so I think it'll be pretty biased all the way around.
Hey, y'all, man, it's been good. Hopefully, I can catch both of y'all this weekend up in Atlanta.
Yeah, let's get it done. Go Dogs.
Hey, go Dogs, baby.
All right, dog.
All right, fellas.